So I will talk about the priorities from the foundation's perspective, and I also should qualify this that, I don't think we expect all our priorities to be addressed through this investment. So, and we also accept that there will be many potentially interesting research projects that will come out that will, fall slightly outside our priorities, and that's fine. But I still want to sort of put across what we're actually aiming for in the urban sector. So this to sort of illustrate to make the problem statement clear, I'm presenting this gentleman over here who works as a manual emptier of latrines in the city of Dakar in Senegal. So I think there are several items in this picture that really illustrate what the problem is in several of emptying these latrines. But he's using a suboptimal technology, so to speak. He's taking these jerry cans. He's going in the back of this yard and emptying the contents of the latrines. And interestingly, the emptying occurs just outside the house. So you can see there's a hole that's being dug just outside the house. So emptying simply means moving the contents of one's latrines from inside their house to just outside their house. And in the process of emptying, he's spilling raw sewage all over the place. So this is, the reason I chose to present this picture, because it illustrates what our goal in tackling the urban services problem is, to move away from these suboptimal technologies to better technologies. So particularly in the case of this city in Dakar, we want people to stop using manual emptying and start signing up for the mechanized emptying service which the municipality provides. There are even though the service provided by the municipality is not the best that it can be. It's slightly more expensive. It cannot reach all the areas in the city, only those that are on the main streets. But still, we want essentially to improve the existing technologies. So, in terms of the main goal that we're really getting at is to demonstrate technologies that are sustainable, that they work primarily for the poor, and not only demonstrate them in sort of a control setting, but demonstrate them by serving people at a significant scale with these technologies. So that's really what the foundation is after. We think that it's our unique contribution to the sector. There are fewer investments in technologies that are done by other development organizations. So in terms of achieving this goal in the urban sector, there are a couple of different duties that we have in our program. So the main one, which takes up most of our resources, is on the discovery of these new technologies. So we are, particularly when we're talking about the sanitation, the foundation is investing a lot of time and resources in developing new technologies, particularly on, as I mentioned, on latrine emptying. So coming up with better solutions for emptying the latrines, coming up with better solutions for processing whatever comes out of those latrines, and eventually, and this is really the end line goal, is to come up with a new latrine technology that essentially eliminates any other needs of emptying and of processing. So essentially, a self-contained unit that no longer produces any waste stream. Now, of course, I think we realize that to paraphrase a quite famous movie, it's not enough to build it and people will come, but actually you have to invest a lot in in addition to discovering new technologies. It is not enough to, so to speak, to build it. You actually have to invest a lot of resources in the delivery of these new technologies. So, we understand that we have to work to develop markets, to develop institutions for these technologies to really function. And not least importantly, we have to find out ways for people to actively demand these new technologies. And in terms of what we are hoping to get from this particular investment in the Urban Service Initiative is mostly on the part of delivery, to figure out ways to improve the transition of these technologies from sort of the lab to the various cities, and to make them work at scale. And in parallel, there's another important duty is to monitor, learn, and evaluate how this transition takes place. And this is, the Urban Services Initiative is mainly comes from this duty, from the monitoring, learning, and evaluation part. So we're trying to figure out what mechanisms work better than others, but not only stop at learning, but also trying to make sure that whatever evidence comes out from this is used by people whose day-to-day job is to work in sanitation and to implement projects. So that's why I was sort of asking this morning to really see from the examples of research that we've shown, what were the policy implication of those, and what followed after the research was completed. And even I think we have partnered with JPAL, who are, I don't think there are better organizations in terms of the quality of the research, but even as JPAL knows, it's a sort of an uphill climb from getting good research results to getting policy decisions to be influenced by those results. I think earlier this morning when Mushfiq was talking about, or I think Iqbal was talking about how JPAL is set up and how they have projects all over the world and researchers all over the world, and it's interesting that even when you look at the number of policy decisions that came from this research, it's very, very small. I think it's less than 10 from the couple of hundred evaluations. There are the number of evaluations that led to policy changes is still very small. So we're also using this investment in urban services initiatives to figure out are there better ways to get policymakers involved in and to ensure that the research actually leads to significant changes. And now, finally, to put what I think are sort of the more micro level priorities, I'll just go to the next slide. And as I said earlier, the priorities that we hope to address through this investment are on ways to develop institution, markets, and consumers for the new technology that we or other technology investors come up with. So in terms of institutions, I think these are just some examples of issues that we're after. So for example, what is the relation between the regulatory framework in the urban environment and their relationship with the introduction of new technologies? So for example, how would you design a system to, for example, finance or tax a new sanitation service that was introduced, or to linking in a sense with the evidence that was provided earlier this morning by Rohini. What is the optimal governance system that ensures that the priorities of in terms of the priorities of the citizen are actually able to influence the decision taken by the politicians as it relates to the sanitation sector. In terms of the markets, as it was mentioned earlier, we're really interested in how to really make the markets in which these technologies would operate as efficient as possible. One way in which efficiency would translate to is, to make the markets more competitive. And I think we have one concrete example of how to tackle this for example, in our work in Dakar, where we're trying out different ways to make the operators of these emptying trucks compete more with each other to drive down the price that they charge the public. Another example of getting information about the function of the markets is to really understand what system of managing either the public or the communal sanitation places, which management system works better. And finally, but I don't think any less importantly, is how can we get individual consumers to use and to consistently use the new sanitation technologies. And here we're interested not only in sort of the typical price mechanism for changing or increasing adoption, but also in the other options that researchers have come up with in terms of increasing adoption, either using social pressure or other informal ways of stimulating adoption. So I don't want to take up any more of your time, so I'm opening the floor to more questions, and I'm also open to, if you have other questions or comments that you want to make, I'm right here, so feel free to ask now or even later.
I think it could be useful, given my previous answer to the issue of competition, if you elaborate more on the example you have in Dakar.
Sure. So in Dakar, I think the way that we have, I mean, when we say we, is always we're talking about our grantees, because as you know, the foundation doesn't do anything by itself. So the way our grantee in Dakar has figured out a nice experiment to measure the effect of competition on the adoption of the new technology and on prices is to come up with various ways to auction the contracts that go out for different neighborhoods. So starting with a large sample of neighborhoods, some of them are allocated to be auctioned off in a completely private auction, where the operators send a bid that is invisible to others, and some neighborhoods are auctioned off in a sort of a public auction, so everybody sees what other people have bid. So in theory, with private auctions, you would think that it becomes more competitive because you're not, there's less of a scope for coordinating among the suppliers. So you would think that the prices would go down more. So that's maybe in a very particular way of getting at this effect of competition.
Basically, I want to comment on this latrine emptying.
Yes.
You have asked for technologies and fecal sludge process like that. So just now, Alex she has mentioned about the manual scavenging. And our organization's one of the main objective is to liberate, rehabilitate, and train manual scavengers that we are doing. In our country, it is a problem, but our government is ready to complete this manual scavenging problem so that everybody should live a life of dignity. There are many government programs for that. Basically, latrine emptying is an offense, and it is an inhumane practice that one man is carrying another man's waste. So basically, the Sulabh has developed this two-pit compost toilet. There's no need to empty latrine. It gets converted into compost after 2 years, and that compost can be used in field and has having good NPK value, is a good biocompost. And we have made 2 scavenging-free towns, Alvara and Tong, and on other towns we are working on that, on manual scavenging rehabilitation program.
I think that's a very good example of how you bring in a sort of a better technology that eliminates the need for manual scavenging, just as getting more
not only we have liberated, we have rehabilitated and mainstream. Now you cannot find any lady or man who was a manual scavenger. He is like us. He's sitting with us. He's getting training, orientation programs. He's participating. He or she is participating in many programs. If you are, anytime you find time, you can visit our centers and you can interact with them. That is a model pilot projects for rehabilitation of manual scavengers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I may take you up on that.